Welcome to episode 210 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg. And my guest this week, I'm always thrilled to have her on the show, Kelly Guimont. How are you doing, Kelly?
I'm doing well, David. How are you?
I'm doing well myself here. It's just before the 4th of July holiday here in the United States. So we're going to have a nice long weekend coming up here. I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yes.
But there's still a fair amount of stuff we came up with this week. Lots of good news stories happening. The iPhone is 15 years old. We're going to talk about that a little bit because it's been.
I was thinking about that.
I know you and I are going to have some. We're gonna have some good things to talk about and relate to that. Yeah. We both have a long history with iPhone.
I was thinking about that a couple weeks ago. Hasn't it been like 15 years or something? And went and looked, and sure enough, yeah.
It was. So let's we'll get to that in just a little bit here. But I got a bunch of news stories here. So let's go ahead and dive into some of the news that happened this week. First story I got here is Apple is offering Apple Card owners 4% daily cashback at select stores in July. Apple has launched a summer promotion for Apple Card owners that are offering additional cashback for merchandise that includes Hotel Tonight, Petco, StubHub, Ray-Ban, Crocs, Fandango, Yeti, and J. Crew. Okay, I don't see anything too exciting for me there. Through July 31st, Apple Pay purchase made with the Apple Card with those retailers will give you a 4% cashback instead of the standard 3 or 2%. Mm-hmm. So it's good to see that Apple's doing this kind of stuff with different merchants. They've done that before, like with Nike and Panera Bread.
Yeah.
Walgreens, actually, they do Walgreens 3% now, which I have to make sure every time I go to the Walgreens, because this Walgreens, being it is based here in the Chicago area, there's plenty of them around each corner here. Yeah. And I do shop there a fair amount. But they give you 3%, which is awesome. So what do you think? I think I think one of the biggest things is the Apple Card. They got to get it out into the UK for our UK friends because they really are been waiting to get that. I know we've got some UK listeners here that they're waiting. They got to get out there with
because everyone in the UK, everyone in the UK is just really hyped up about getting cash back on their Crocs. I know.
Exactly.
I do like though that they're going for a lot of different retailers when they've done these deals before. They've done similar sorts of things like for the next month or for the next couple of months. You can get a deal at these different places, and I like that they do that and sort of rotate it through. I think it's a thing that basically only encourages people to use the Apple Card and turn it into their sort of default payment, because everybody kind of has one now at this point. There's not a lot of people who are still dealing mostly in cash, for the most part. Like, I'm painting in very broad strokes, I understand that, but
right.
Lots of people have a default card, and for a lot of people, even if they have an Apple Card, their Apple Card may not be that default card. So anything Apple can do to sort of nudge people to turn it into the thing that they go to first is probably going to just be good for the Apple Card. And I think some of the pay later and those sorts of things, once you tie it to the Apple Card, where you get cash back on top of, the monthly payment, being able to break those things up. I think between those, I think that's going to probably drive a lot of adoption as well. So it's both good and bad news to me that I'm not interested in most of the places that they have listed right now. So
same here. I did. And I read through that. I'm like, okay, nothing looks too exciting to me. Yeah. I'm not. I look like a dork wearing Crocs. I'm sorry. I had a pair and I got rid of them. So
4%. Well, and 4% still not going to bring anything from Yeti down to a price I want to pay. So I'm not there either.
Yeah.
Maybe Yeti does Ray-Bans.
have some nice. Well, I got Maui Jims. They're okay.
Oh yeah, there you go.
But anyway, let's next story here. Brazil is the latest country to consider forcing Apple to adopt USB-C for iPhones. Brazil has become the latest country to propose the mandating of Apple to move away from the Lightning connector to this USB-C. This was a report this week. I won't go through much of the details. It's just like going back to, we just talked about this a few weeks ago about the European Union starting to become a force to say that, yes, Apple, every country in the European Union is going to be required to do USB-C. I think we've had this debate plenty of times on this. I think it's inevitable. I don't see it happening this year with the iPhone 14, but I do see it potentially happening in 2023.
I mean,
but it could be 2024. But it's hard to say. But what you think?
I really just think it's a question of time, and the reason I think that is because as part of my job, I have a Google Pixel for testing, and it is very very thin phone. It's about the size of a.
You mean this Google Pixel right here?
No, because mine doesn't have the black stripe across the top. But it's
this is the 2XL.
Okay, the 2XL. So I have the 5A, and
this one's
it's
old.
lean and mean. It's got a little fingerprint sensor on the back. It's really nice. There's a tiny little hole in the front for the camera. Like as a device, it's a nice device. I have no quibble about the hardware or anything like that. It runs Android, and you have to hand Google a terrifying amount of information to make anything actually work on it. But that aside, it's got a USB-C port to charge. And because a lot of what I charge on my desk primarily is my iPad Pro and my iPad Pro, I have a couple of battery packs that are USB-C because they're MagSafe. So it's got a USB-C port on the bottom. So most of what I charge on my desk, I have a USB-C cable that's got me covered. And it's just nice to be able to not have to change any of that and just plug into that too. Mm-hmm. And now that even more of the iPad models have gone USB-C, I presume that it's just going to be a question of time. And it's probably going to be the same sort of thing like logistics. It takes a certain amount of space to put that at the bottom of the device, and now we have to rethink that in relation to the rest of the circuit board and everything inside because of all the other things that are in there doing what they need to do. So I feel like it's coming, and I'm really not looking forward to the riots in the streets as everybody gives up their lightning cables like they did when we had to switch from 30 pin. But
30.
Yeah. But I mean, it's been another 10 years, and there are a lot more cables, and they've gotten a lot less expensive, and it's kind of a commodity to get a really solid iPhone lightning cable now. So yeah, be okay.
We got mounds of cables.
It'll be okay.
In our,
I promise.
Closets and bags.
We'll get through it together.
Yep. It's inevitable. I just thought that just reinforced it. There's European Union's not the only one.
Oh yeah,
and there's going to be many other countries. It's going to have to happen. So.
Well, I think it's going to happen before
next story
Apple.
I
think Apple's going to do it before it turns into a whole thing. Is kind of my assessment. I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen. So. Yeah,
I agree with you with that. Yeah. Next story here: iPads will work as home hubs in iOS 16, but won't support the new home architecture. Through code from in iOS 16 had indicated that the iPad won't work with the Home Hub, which we reported earlier a few weeks ago. Following the update, an Apple spokesperson said this was Tuesday of this week as we record. I told The Verge that the iPad will indeed still be able to be used as a home hub, but a caveat: it's going to not support new architecture that is being introduced later this year. And spokesman says that they're planning to introduce a new architecture, which is probably referring to Matter. Yeah, so they did announce that they're working with Matter with some new smart home stuff. No, I'm glad to hear this because everybody was kind of freaking out. Oh no more home hub support on the iPad, and you're big using a lot of home stuff. And you use your iPad for managing now.
I don't. And I was actually trying to troubleshoot something recently and couldn't figure out which device was my home hub. And the reason for that is because I have a handful of HomePod minis and a couple of Apple TVs that are all eligible to be home hubs. And aside from my iPad and Mr. Kelly's iPad, and there are a number of things that it could be, but I don't know which one actually is. And I went in the Home app to see if there was anything that would tell me, and I couldn't really find anything that says this is your home hub. Although the thing that I do like about it is that it does in fact confirm something that I was a little worried about after WWDC when we got the preview of iOS 16. And that is the code for Matter and the code and all of the capability for that is in iOS 16 in the betas. So you can see now that that's what's happening, as opposed to where we've other times in the past when they've talked about a feature and there's been a bunch of internet consternation about it. But then when when the version of iOS is actually released, we don't even see it for a few months. And this is in betas right away. And so I'm really glad to see it working together. And part of the reason I'm glad for this is because Matter looks like the thing that everybody who has tried to smarten their home before now has been waiting for, which is it's just this standard, and it's not super complicated, and it's pretty secure, and it's an easy thing to implement. So that means my phone will be able to boss it around, and lots of places are going to find it easy to make devices that work with this. And whatever you have will work with it, and it'll be fine. And like, there are people already on board, like Google, all of the Nest stuff is adding Matter. And they said that they and August and Gale, because they're sort of the same company now, they have already said that they are adding Matter support to existing devices. So that's really nice. And part of the reason for that is because I'm very because it means you don't have to buy all new stuff like you did when Apple finally got it together and released HomeKit, and then got it even more together and started working with people to get HomeKit hardware that was available for everybody. You had to go buy all new stuff. So if you had Hue bulbs, you had to buy a new hub. And if you had these, you had to just buy a new that. And I'm really glad to see that this is going to be something that might just be available through a software update. And now stuff will just work better. And eventually it'll turn into the thing that we all sort of thought we were going to get, which was, come home and talk to your house and have stuff just happen and be great. That's my hope. So I'm glad to see that there's at least a little bit of movement on that front. And I am glad for people who are using an iPad as a home hub that that working with it is something that's going to happen, even though like it can still be a home hub. It just may not support everything. So, I'm happy to see it, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on more stuff that actually does this, so that I can make my network easier to manage. Yeah,
even easier.
Yeah.
And then next story here, we talked about this before. It's been rumored for many months now. Apple reportedly did bid on the NFL Sunday Ticket weeks ago, and is still waiting an answer. Apple, Disney, and Amazon were all ones that submitted bids to the NFL for out-of-market Sunday Ticket package, who right now currently is on DirecTV. It's in its last year. Disney did bow out as they realized it's going to be way too expensive, because I believe the NFL wants about $2 billion for this every season, which is a lot of money.
It's good to want things.
I think it's going to be good.
But
it's going to be good. But Apple has already their first thing is going to be. I mean, the Friday Night Baseball is already included with Apple TV Plus. But we did talk about last week that the 10-year agreement with the Major League Soccer, that's going to be a completely separate service that you have to subscribe to, just like this is going to be as well.
Sure.
This is going to be because it's very, very premium service, because they're paying premium for it.
Oh, of course.
MLS, I was surprised, because the first when I reported the story, I was like, wait, this is just going to be added to Apple TV Plus, right? Oh no, it's not. So, but for sure, NFL Sunday Ticket's going to be. I honestly hope Apple gets it. I like to see the continued growth with Apple TV Plus, and I hope they do.
Yes and no. Because it's going to depend on how they handle it. For my assessment, if Apple gets it, there needs to be tiered pricing, because I don't care about football. I don't care about NFL. I'm not. We can go into why, but that's generally a separate podcast. And but also with Major League Soccer, like Major League Soccer is going to be a thing that like I care about, but a lot of people don't. And so I'm not going to get Ted Lasso and soccer and football for $5 a month. That's simply not happening. So why? Right. So how Apple manages that, rolls that out, that's going to be a thing I'm interested to see. But also, I'm curious if Apple gets it just because it's a thing. I mean, we've talked. I don't even know how long you and I have been talking about this, because I've said before, football is football is the huge thing. I can't remember if it was here or if it was, you and I over on Mac Voices, where I had heard a statistic that of the 100 most viewed television events in 2021, 75% of them were football games, whether it was NFL or college, it was
Right.
football games. And so I'm really like, everybody has said, like, if you can get the NFL on a streamer reliably, and if you can do it the way they did Major League Soccer, where every game is on the app and there's no blackouts, like, that is, as far as I'm concerned, if you can do that with the NFL, if you can do that with Friday Night Baseball, you know, if they could do it with Friday Night Baseball, it would 100% be a legitimate loaves and fishes level miracle, if that's a thing that they can make happen. So that, like, my dad, for example, no matter where he is, getting to see the Mariners wherever he happens to be would be an actual miracle. And Major League Soccer, I know, is without blackouts, but I also don't know how Byzantine those deals were in the first place, because Major League Soccer hasn't been on TV in the United States for a long time. I mean, that's where Ted Lasso came from.
I think you're going to watch HBO. It's no blackouts or MLS. So
yeah, because I don't think there's a whole lot of blackout stuff happening with it now. So, so if they can manage something like this, if they can manage to just make it a little easier for everybody to watch football, I think, you know, the sky's the limit. That's going to be a license to print money, even if it costs them billions of dollars to do so. Like, they're going to rake it in because there are so many people who are willing to pay to watch it legitimately, whatever professional sport it might be, sure, and just don't have the opportunity. And so I'm hoping that maybe this will change that. And that's one of the things I'm sort of looking forward to seeing, because football is the big one. I really want them to change the NBA because those rules are even stupider, but baby steps.
Another story.
Yeah.
Next story here is Apple TV Plus is seeing major gains in customer satisfaction and retention. Apple TV Plus streaming service has seen significant gains, and likelihood that the user will keep paying for subscriptions between 2021 and 2022, as the data suggests. Mm-hmm. It was according to a research by Whip Media that the level of overall customer satisfaction for Apple TV Plus jumped from 62% in 2021 to 76% in 2022. That 14% increase really marks a big jump for any of the video on-demand services.
Yeah.
Apple TV Plus didn't have the highest rate of customer satisfaction among the streamers included. It ranks 6th. HBO Max is actually number 1, and it has a grid here on the article. Here it gives you the between 21 and 22. Yeah, HBO Max has got 94% satisfaction rate. That's pretty incredible.
It's even more,
Disney's right behind it at 88%.
Even more incredible when you think back to when they unveiled HBO Max, which was, what if HBO Go,
right,
but purple?
Yeah,
and
it was a bust.
The app sucked,
when it
and
first came out.
Even if you were paying for it, and even if you were paying for a thing so that you could watch HBO, you couldn't watch HBO, and it was dumb.
Yeah.
And it was the most frustrating experience. So, like, my takeaway from this was what kind of bounce that's been, because that rollout was just a disaster. And so I was really impressed with how they've reeled that back in. But they've got a lot, obviously. Westworld is back. They've got a lot going on over there that a lot of people like, because I remember people sort of going, what's HBO going to do now that Game of Thrones is off the air? And they figured it out. So
they're talking maybe potential something over there too. I mean, Hulu is number 3. It's about 87%. Actually dropped over 2021. If I note Hulu, I have to say to you, and I'll say it to everybody, I have become completely addicted to the Orville. I binge watched season 1. Thank you, Jeff Gamet. You caused this. And I binge watched season 1 and season 2, as I had never seen it before, and I'm hooked. And now I'm finally into season 3, which is the new season that they just come out with after 3 or 4 years at hiatus.
Yeah.
So it's a great show.
Well, Only Murders in the Building is now also available on Hulu, and if you've not watched that
one too,
get caught up, because season 2 is out, and I'm very excited to see where we go. So yeah.
I gotta get on that one. So
yes,
but interesting to see with Apple TV Plus. I'm super stoked, and it just, I think Apple with services, as we keep talking about here on the show, that services are just exploding with Apple, and they're going to continue to do so. So
it's also easy. I mean, one thing Apple did with this is obviously they've got the money to fund the catalog. So things like, Apple did not build the studio that made Coda. Somebody made Coda and Apple had the sense to snap it up. That sort of, some things they worked on getting created, like the morning show, but other things were just sort of strategic purchases. And one of the nice things about that mix is that, it means the same people aren't in charge of making everything. And so it doesn't all seem the same. And also that, because of the combination of the two of them, like it's still $5 a month. I guarantee 9 of the 10% minimum of the satisfaction drop in Netflix. The reason the satisfaction number went down is because the price went up. And that's only counting current customers, because I bet if you also look at subscriber numbers, that Netflix number went off a cliff. So there's some real interesting stuff in there. The one that amused me was that Discovery Plus is precisely the same.
Something has to happen with that now that all merged. So we'll see what happens with that service. You don't hear, you were advertising that like crazy. You don't see much of that anymore.
Not at all.
So, speaking of a new app, I'm super stoked about this because I am an Xfinity Comcast subscriber. They launched the Xfinity Stream app on Apple TV. Hallelujah! I'll now be able to watch all of my content on Xfinity Stream, and I may even, I'm now debating, I have a wireless box from Comcast that I can find. I might be able to finally get rid of it because I pay $8 a month for that rental.
Yeah.
Where I can just have it on my Apple TV. I mean, it's limited because you can't really change the channels. That's the biggest thing. People want to use the remote.
Yeah, you can't watch TV
channel up, channel down.
on the Apple TV.
You got to navigate and move around, but it was well executed. It's available for the 4K version and the HD version. You can watch most content that's available through the actual Xfinity set-top box, and users with existing subscriptions will be able to stream all your live channels. And if I have to be I'm a subscriber to HBO on Comcast that goes along with HBO Max, so I can watch in both places. So, but I downloaded it today and started using it, and it feels like I'm just using the same app that's on my iPhone and my iPad. So it's really well done. They did a great job with it. The only thing I'm bummed about, like I said, I really, like everybody, like people like to channel surf, and it's a little more of a challenge to do that, because they did have a beta version of the app. I should go back and look at Roku, because they've had a beta version of it on Roku for a long time, and they never really changed it. So, but I think it was they did Comcast Xfinity did go into a partnership with Apple, because they're hoping to maybe put their set-top box as a Apple designed interface. So they are looking to look to that stuff. So hopefully we see that in other places, because they did talk about that earlier this year, which I mentioned. So
my takeaway from this story was that there is an app now. Like I remember sort of taking a shot at. I'm a Comcast subscriber. It is not by choice. It's Comcast or nothing. And so I tried it out. Like they were like, we have an app now, and I went and tried it and went, no, I don't think you do. First. And so left, like, just kind of ignored it and went, like I can occasionally get something through the app on my iPad if I want to do that, because a lot of times I will sit and watch something on my iPad while I'm eating lunch or something, and so I went and tried it, and like I tolerated it on my iPad, but I kind of went there, like, none of you have ever used an Apple TV who developed the app that you think a person on an Apple TV is going to actually use, and gave up on it. And so it was nice to see that, maybe they actually are doing slightly better than they used to. Because I want it to be good, especially because I don't have a choice. So it would be nice if the company I was paying exorbitant sums of money to every month actually had service that I didn't completely hate. So yeah. So now actually I am looking forward to trying it out. So I feel like this is also another piece of people taking the Apple TV seriously. And, it's a viable platform. It's a thing we need to expend development resources on, have people building apps for, have things work better on. And so having those things work, and having more availability, a lot, I think, just like to back up a couple to Sunday Ticket. You know, if more pro sports stuff starts happening on Apple TV, on the Apple TV app, it's just going to sell more Apple TVs. And then people are going to go, well, if I can get football here, I don't need cable, you know, and then just buy one of those and move on with their lives. And so I'm hopeful that this means lots of places are taking the Apple TV seriously. And maybe that means we'll get more out of Apple too. Fingers crossed.
Definitely going to be interesting. So, all right, let's move on to the topics this week. This week, we've still got 2 betas going on at once here in iOS. I still don't understand this, but it is true. iOS 15.6 is now beta 4. Mm-hmm. It was just seeded this week. I believe it was Tuesday of this week as we record. And the developers and public betas are out. So we still don't know what the heck was introduced with this. Really no new features. It may just be focusing on bug fixes. Very unusual. I have not seen Apple do this, extend the previous version of iOS as they're working on the new version, in the case of this 15.6 and iOS 16, that they're still working on developing both. So there obviously has to be some bugs that they really haven't told us that's going on in this. So.
Well, I think it may not be bugs, and I feel like we've seen this a couple times before, but you know, like in a short time, you know, a week or two overlap here and there. But I think usually at this point, when we're looking at versions of iOS, when the next version is already out in the world, we're looking at things like optimization, like whatever the lowest phones are. You know, the oldest phones that will run iOS 15 are getting a little more optimization, a little more speed boost, things like that. We're getting not necessarily new features and maybe a little bit of bug fixing, but it's going to be smaller stuff. And then things like generally making something faster or refining something that was, you know, a little bit good and making it a little better, or having some sort of back end stuff that mostly isn't going to matter to a lot of people, but you know, closes a security hole, or it's releasing some sort of capability that developers can take advantage of that just iOS itself is never going to see, you know, the change in. So we get, you know, little behind the scenes, under the hood, bolt tightening, I always call it, you know, and I'm hopeful that means that it will just help everybody's device be a little happier. So, yeah.
Nope. Yep. So not much else we can say about that. Hopefully it'll be out soon. And as we all say, don't put beta on your production device. I am not running iOS 15.6 on my iPhone 13 Pro Max. I run iOS 16 on this camera I'm using on my 10R to iOS 16. Don't put beta on your phone. It should. I mean, fourth beta. I'm anticipating it's going to be out pretty soon here.
I personally adhere to what I like to call the Star Trek movie rule of betas, which is that you only pay attention to the even numbered ones.
There you go.
Never install beta 1 on your device, not even if it's not production. Never install in beta 1 on your device. Always wait for 2.
I do.
I know.
Although I shouldn't have on this one, I had to downgrade it for a little bit because Camel wasn't compatible to iOS 16. It kept crashing. So and the great folks at Reincubate Camel, I shout out to them again because I did go out on Twitter and just let them know, hey, this is not. You guys need to fix this for iOS 16. I know it's beta, but you probably should be aware of it as you're testing. And they reacted pretty quickly. Within a week, they had it fixed. Yeah. So it's working fine now. So,
Camel.
Speaking of iOS 16, beta 2 is still continues this week as the developers are testing. Mm-hmm. Every week I'm going through trying to call out some of the cool things that are out there. Notably is the wallpaper, being able to do the widget customizations. I think they've really done some pretty awesome things. You guys have a lot to look forward to in the way the customizations with that, as well as wallpaper options, because you're really going to be able to release some really fun customizations.
Yeah.
Now, granted, we've seen in the past, like Android has always been very good, honestly, when it comes to customizations, and Apple has finally has done a good job with when they started with widgets. They finally got those going, and people are doing some mass customizations. I'm not crazy customizing, but they did change. Like the clock is a lot. I like the way it looks on the home screen now. They've done a lot of different things because you were so used to the same thing. In fact, I was talking to a coworker. He was saying to me, I was in a meeting at work here, I'm really thinking about moving to Android because Apple really hasn't done any exciting things on the iPhone in the last few years. And I said, yeah, I kind of agree with you on that, but I don't know if you really want to go to that dark side in Android. And I mean, maybe he wants to try something different to see what a Samsung does.
Yeah.
That's what he had said. I said to him, I think I really am kind of seeing some exciting things with iOS 16 because I agree with him. I mean, there really hasn't been any dramatic changes in all the models of the hardware.
But there hasn't been on the
iOS
Android
has
side
kind of been stagnant.
Either. For the most part, it's been new cameras because everything got really mature, right? Like we got all the new exciting things because you never used to be able to take a picture with your phone. You never used to be able to take a video with your phone, or pay for stuff, or an exciting change was unlock it with your thumb instead of typing that super passcode all the time, and on and on and on. And so there was a lot of change and update, and there's nothing really all that exciting about I got a new phone and the camera's better. Like we kind of take that for granted every year now, and so having somebody come out and tell us how great the machine learning is, like, doesn't matter. It looks the same as last year's. It takes the same pictures as last year's. I can't do anything new with it I couldn't do last year. So, so I can see kind of the I'd like to try something a little different because there hasn't been anything new and exciting in a while. But I think one of the things I like about this is that it's options. It's just another way for people to do what they want to do with their device. And that's pretty awesome. That's always the thing that I say, I don't think Apple needs to change a bunch of iOS, but just give me the option to make something a little different if there's some way that it would work better for me. So I'm looking forward to seeing this stuff, especially because some of it's already familiar if you have an Apple Watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of familiarity with Apple Watches, the time customization is really cool. I mean, they really never gave you the option to customize it. It's cool. We have an article here in the show notes that links it to it. It's all the stuff I'm talking about here. Tints and styles, being able to add little widgets right under the clock. You never used to be able to do that before, and that's really cool. Add below the time, and the batteries have a much more robust looking, because I have the widget that shows what the battery life is. When I got the AirPods, the Apple Watch, and I wear a headband at sleeping at night. That's a Bluetooth device, so it tells me how much battery life's on that. So they've done some really good things with that. So I think, and we're obviously going to be talking a lot more about this stuff when it comes to this stuff. So they've really done some great stuff. So check that article out if you're still interested. By all means, once iOS 16 comes out, we'll have more comprehensive reviews of what it has to offer. So, but it's a long way to go yet. We're talking. I can't believe it's June 30th. We're almost here as we record this. It's going to be July 1st here in no time. I'm going this the third quarter of the year already. It's this time is just flying by here. So, check that out. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, that this is a rumor, but I thought it was kind of a notable thing. I kind of like it, is the fact that CarPlay with iOS 16 is going to have a fuel app that will let drivers actually buy the gas from your car. You can go to the CarPlay app and actually be at a gas station and be able to pay for the gasoline. And we're all happy right now that we're paying absorbent amounts of money here in the United States and everywhere. Pretty much
I can't afford CarPlay
for gas these days.
I can't afford CarPlay to pay for my gas because I got to pay for gas.
Yeah, it's got to go pay for gas. So this article is in Apple Insider. Talks about stuff as well as a lot of the. I need to get this phone plugged into my car. I want to see what CarPlay is looking like. They've showed a lot of the stuff, but I think this is something really cool. It doesn't necessarily mean it will add it by the time iOS 16 comes out. I'm sure it's going to be looked at, but with anything, I think this is a cool way to be able to easily be able to purchase gas. I mean, it's getting easier and easier. You're going up to the pumps, putting the card in, or swiping your phone with Apple Pay.
Really?
But to be able to do it right from your car, I do Apple Pay on some pumps. Do it.
I live in Oregon, and we're not allowed to pump our own gas, so I don't have any of this experience.
Oh, that's right. You don't know this. I remember that. Yeah, I was just reading the article.
Yeah.
You guys in New Jersey, so you can't do it anyway. So how are you gonna pay for it?
Yeah, so I'm like, wait, Apple Pay on the gas pump? Yeah. That sounds awesome. All right. Yeah.
there was an article about that. Someone had wrote an article not too long ago. I read about that, but both states that still make you pump gas.
Well, only
it
some.
Makes no sense.
Like because there's parts of Oregon.
Yeah, I heard in rural areas.
Yeah. Part
areas,
of the reason a lot of people discovered that Oregon doesn't pump its own gas is because they made it so parts of Oregon you could pump your own gas, and a bunch of people freaked out. So, I can count on one hand the number of times I have pumped gas for an automobile in my entire life, because I mostly don't get gas outside of Oregon, so I just do it myself.
There you go.
So I was very interested to see this, but the thing that I picked up on this that I like, that I would be looking forward to, whether I can, even though I can't pay for gas, at the pump, so to speak now, is the privacy piece of it, because Gas Buddy and Fuely have had a whole lot of data ickiness, I guess. There's been a couple of kerfuffles with these places that are, give us your location all the time and we'll tell you where the cheapest gas is. And I'm sure those places are getting a whole lot of traffic now. And they're doing, some of them are doing, it's not so much that they're doing something shady with your data. It's that they were trying to say they weren't doing something shady with your data while they did something shady with your data. So like, if you're going to be shady about it, just be upfront about it. Like, we're selling your data. That's why you get the app for free. Okay. Let people make an informed decision. This is the drum Andrew and I used to beat over on TMO Daily all the time, every Friday, was just be an informed decision, be upfront about it. And they tried to come out and make out like they weren't like this wasn't a terrible thing that they were doing. All we're doing is giving all of our customer data to anyone whose check doesn't bounce. We don't understand the problem. And that's not, that's not a thing. And so I was glad to see that this is a thing that Apple is doing, not necessarily, I know there's a whole lot of sort of ickiness around putting all of your life in the basket of one multi-squillion dollar company. And I get that, but Apple continues to be good about privacy and continues to make that something where it's simply not their business model. They do not profit from doing anything with that information, at least for now. And remember, I'm a Westworld fan, so I know this all could change at any moment. And I do not have faith that the company that's nice to us now is going to be the company that's nice to us later. I 100%, let me get that out there for the record. But that said, as far as right now, this is a way to do all of this kind of stuff and have it be better and have it be good and have it be not monetized. And so that's a thing that I'm looking forward to in this, is like not just the Apple Pay transaction, but I'm presuming it's also going to show you like, here are the prices where you are, and maybe this is the place you want to go get it, and you go get it and you can pay for it all at once, and it'll be awesome.
Absolutely. So we'll see how it goes. Next story we mentioned this at the beginning of the show is iPhone is 15 years old.
Yes.
It was June 29th, there's a day yesterday as we record this, June 29th, 2007. Steve Jobs went on stage and said it's a revolutionary device. It's a phone. It's an internet mobile communicator. It's a music player.
Are you getting it?
It's iPhone. Yeah, that was. I can watch that all the time. That was probably one of the greatest speeches that just Steve Jobs ever did, and it was just. I can guarantee you go to YouTube and look at that video now. It's probably millions and millions of people watch that now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and it was fun to be in the room.
Ever since its debut.
I mean, that was like, I was there.
Were you in the room?
Yeah, I was in the room.
Oh, my God. So jealous.
Clinging to the edge of the chair because it was like everybody wanted to be, we were getting to the point. I was late to get in line because I didn't get in line until about 3:30 in the morning. And so I was like, well around the side of the building. So they were getting to the point where they were starting to go, we're going to have to redirect to the overflow room. And so all of us that got in, it was one of those, like, we've got, 13 or 14 people in the row of like 10 or 11 chairs. And so everybody's kind of not actually on, it wasn't like one rear end to one seat across the entire row because people were sort of cramming in to make sure everyone had room to sit. So I was like most of the way on this seat on the end of an aisle. And I think there were maybe 5 or 10 people who got in after me before they started redirecting to overflow, where everyone just sat and watched on a big screen. But I actually had to be in the room and watching it happen and feeling the mood in the room and feeling when he came out and said, like, this is what I'm here to announce. And you felt every person in that room sit up and like, okay, like wake up a little bit and kind of rub their eyes and go, okay, like I've been up for, however long at this point, and I am now here to pay attention. And watching everyone do that, and then watching it sort of wash over the room as everybody sat there and tried to figure out what it was that he was trying to say. So, when he says, "Are you getting it?" Most of the audience was like, "No, tell me again." Like there was a little bit of like, "Are we?" Like, I think what he's telling me is this could be an iPod that makes phone calls. Is that really what he's giving me? And then like, that's exactly what it was, at that point. And that was the easiest way to wrap your head around it in that moment anyway. And it was amazing. And it was like, it's one of the memories I hold the most dear, was just getting to be there at that fundamental turning point in the world. Cause it wasn't just Apple nerds. And I remember thinking at the time that if they did this right, this is a fundamental change for technology. This is a fundamental change for people. This isn't just a fundamental change for my people, my little Apple nerd circle that I run around with. This isn't a thing that he's making for us. This is a thing that could be for everybody, and at that point, of course, it was, if they can go up against BlackBerry and win that fight, and look where we are. But I remember thinking briefly, like, if this turns into a thing that people can really get behind, this is going to be far more massive than like anything consumer technology wise that anybody did. And I remember sort of thinking, like, I'd be really sad if this wasn't a bigger deal, because look at how different this smartphone is. And the thing that cracks me up to this day is on this day 15 years ago, when it had been out a few days and people had them out in the world, everyone who took a look at it and went, my God, David, why would you carry around a phone that big?
Right. And I won't change. I mean, as everybody knows, as I've talked about this many times here, is I will not carry anything smaller than a max version of an iPhone.
Oh, no, I mean the original iPhone that was like the size of an iPod. Yeah. In that moment, 15 years ago, people looked at that and went, why would you carry around that giant phone? And look where we are now. Yeah,
I mean, everybody always sees me every week, and you see the picture that's behind me there. It's the evolution of the iPhone. Yep. I found this on Etsy, and I said, I got to get this printed out in 16 by 24 and print it and have it framed. Yep. So I did, and it's always fun to look at every day. I come in here and look at, and I go through every single one of these phones. I had that one. I count 18 of the iPhones that have been released since. Wow. I pretty much have owned every iPhone. The only exception was the first one. I did not buy the first one. Did you? I don't know.
I did
you
not.
Have the first iPhone?
I was stuck in a contract.
Because it was just too expensive, and
I was stuck in a contract,
and AT&T, right? I was in Sprint.
And had no option to do anything about it. But my contract was going to be up right about the time that the original was released, and then I didn't have a budget for it at that point, because that still wasn't a time when you just went and bought your phone as a separate line item. And so I waited on it, and then the 3G was my first iPhone. But in the meantime, I had a Motorola Rocker or Razor. It was the Razor, the little flippy one. It was junk.
The Rocker was, I think, with the iTunes.
Yeah, I had one of those. That was my last ever phone. But at the time, I had the Razor, the little flippy one. That was horrible. And somebody gave me the audio that was the original iPhone ringtone, and I installed it on my Razor so that at least when people called me, it would sound like an iPhone. And so that was like how I got through the year until I could get to 3G. And the 3G was Mr. Kelly's first real Apple device. And I was waiting in line for the 3G with all every interesting Apple nerd in Portland, and all the rest of them, I was in line with people from Panic and people from Small Society who made the WordPress app and the Starbucks app and stuff, and waiting in line with nerds gonna nerd down there in Pioneer Place. And there were a couple people ahead of me in line, and the last call I made on that rocker was to Mr. Kelly, and I said, there are 2 people ahead of me in line, and I need to know how many iPhones I'm getting. And he went, 2, I guess. 2. And I said, okay. So I came home with 2 phones, activated them. The
rest is history.
And his computer had been completely down. He was still a PC user at that point, and his the RAM went bad in his computer, and so he had to spend all weekend getting by on this iPhone to look things up, to do any, to figure out what he was going to do, whatever he would, check his email, all that kind of stuff. I helped him get it all set up. And at the end of the weekend, he looked at me and went, I spent all weekend only using this. And I said, I know. And he just kind of sat there like, I'm like, yeah, it's completely possible for that to be your primary computer if that's all you were doing with the tower in there that has bad memory. And eventually he got a Mac. You can see there's a stand behind me. There's a mini mounted nicely underneath the desk. He's like completely an Apple user. That stand is for the work PC. But that was how it started, because then when those phones were up for renewal, I was awakened by him shouting through the wall at like 5 a.m, AT&T, let me give you money, So that's what reeled him in. And it was, but it was like a fundamental change, I think, for a lot of people to get there, and watching how it has evolved over time, and getting to talk to people, talk to you, and even, when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about, like, we talked about it on the 2 Watt Talkcast, and we talked about it at Mac Observer, and you and I have talked about it here. And it's interesting to see how it's become a thing in its own right. Like the default is, like the default is an iPhone, or, an iPad. It's like a big iPhone. Or, people talk about, well, what's an iPod? Well, it used to be that you could buy an iPhone, but it didn't make phone calls, and you just could use that. That was an iPod, like it's just such a known quantity, and like a touchstone for so many people. And the cultural impact of it has also been massive. So it's been really interesting to watch it evolve over time.
Me as well. I mean, I started with 3G, and then once the big size phone came out, 6 Plus, I never turned back on the larger size phone. Although people will still make fun of me to this day because I did do it. I was on this show back in 2017 when Apple came out with the 8 Plus. I bought the 8 Plus, and I said, okay, this is good because it's a so large phone. I really love it. But then the 10 came out, and I said, I'm not going to do it. There's no way I'm going to do it. And you knew I was going to give in. Everybody makes fun of me this day, because even Chuck Joyner said, because I said it to him, that I was not going to buy the 8. I'm happy with the 8 Plus, and I gave in and bought the 10. And then the 10 has a bigger screen, but wasn't physically bigger than the 8 Plus at the time. So
I remember having that debate with Mr. Kelly on which one, because I'm like, how much? Like, do you want a bigger phone or do you want more screen? I don't understand the question. Well, having to go
the
through,
screen
like,
is the same.
This phone has more around the screen that is not actual screen. This phone has more screen, but it's a smaller phone. But you're getting more screen. Right. And you can unlock it with your face. So, having that whole debate. It was
Face ID for the first time.
Yeah, was very entertaining.
Yeah, and I stayed Max. I stayed Max ever since. So, we could go on and talk for hours about this, but it's exciting. I mean, it's revolutionized my life, because I don't know if I could do without an iPhone anymore. I don't think I would ever switch. And I'm stuck with this. So
now I will say I like Android a lot. I like Android a lot. It looks really nice. It runs really smoothly. Like I said, I have that test device. It's I think it's last year's iPhone or Android like Pixel model. So it's straight Google all the way down. There's no wrapper from somebody else that sells Android devices or anything like that. So I really like having it. Like, it's nice. It's smooth. It works well. I also don't think that would have happened if it weren't for iOS. When Apple's forced to compete and when Android is forced to compete, it's just better for everybody. So like, it's impacted all kinds of other things as well. And so I'm just glad to see that all of that is has come to pass, and I'm happy about all of it. So I'm really glad that
hold that thought, because I do. Hold that thought, because I do have we're going to talk about Android here in just a minute.
Okay.
So just hold that thought just for a moment here, if we could. One other thing I want to mention is this. There's this really cool site. I'm sure you're familiar with it, Kelly. It's the Grid Studio.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not, but
no, yeah, I know.
What they do is they take old iPhones and they put them in, they frame them, and they're all disassembled. And I think this is like if anybody who's a big enthusiast, I'm very tempted to look at one of these things. I will not buy the first gen because they want $600 for it. So it's a little crazy for the price there. But I mean, I might, like, they have a 4S here, and you can go in and it's actually framed, and it shows the phone's completely disassembled, and it shows all the parts in an exploded view. And I think this is really, really cool. For anybody who's a real Apple geek and an iPhone geek for that matter. Check this out. I mean, it looks like they got the 4S, and they have a lot of classics. If you want the 10 or the 3G, I might do the 3G because that was my very first iPhone. Actually,
I was debating because that was my first. That was my first iPhone, and that was like when it all changed. Right, you could take a picture and make a phone call and text somebody with an actual keyboard instead of typing on numbers over. 333-566-677 to tell somebody hello.
It's called Grid. Check it out, because I think this is. They even have an Apple Watch, which is the first, which is actually sold out right now. The Series 1 split. I don't know if I'd want that one. iPhone is more nostalgic to me than really the Apple Watch. But yeah, check that out. That's a link in the show notes too. But happy birthday, iPhone! And I think we have an iPhone that's going to be here for years to come. Now let's talk about Android. Believe it or not, I found this to be an interesting article. This is on 9 to 5 Google. Google is making its latest case on why iPhone users should switch to Android. Okay, so I was intrigued about this article. I wanted to see. Okay, let's go with this. As I showed earlier on the show, I have an old Google Pixel, the 2XL, which is end of life technically. The phone is perfectly fine and actually works great. It still has good performance, but of course, it's an end of security, like what Google always does. But I found this interesting, looking at the different compatibility as far as what's going to happen if you switch to Android. Now, Google did come up with an iOS app that will make it easier for you to switch from iOS to Android. Okay. So you run through this app, and it actually goes through and similar to what iOS does if you switch from Android to iOS. But I went through there was 10 steps here, so we can kind of go through them real quick here. As far as what Google thinks is a good reason why you would want to switch to Android. Yeah. Express yourself in new ways. Okay. Google points to Gboard, emoji mashup stickers. I mean, we have the same stuff pretty much. Is there anything different there? I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, it might
video chat with anyone anywhere,
but it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Video chat anywhere? Okay, we do that. I'm not even going to get into these details. It's just it's laughable. Yeah. Tune into your favorite music? Yeah, okay. iOS does that. Yeah. Your favorite apps and more? Yeah, we got lots of favorite apps. Yeah. A privacy-first approach? We could debate that a long time here. No.
Because messages on Android, like the messaging app on Android is just straight SMS and MMS. It's not, there's nothing particular about it, where iMessage, the blue dots on the blue bubbles on your phone are end-to-end encrypted. And at a minimum, there's that. And, And then aside from that, like if you want it to work, you have to have a Google account, and there's a certain amount of that gets monetized. So, yeah.
All this other stuff, I don't know if it's worth mentioning anymore. We all know we're never going to switch to Android. I found this. You can go in the show notes, take a look at this article. There's some other services like sharing music and the apps with Google Apps cool. and services. Live transcribe is cool, but I think Apple's done a good
16.
job of doing.
Yeah.
In 16, right? So, again, Apple's sometimes late to the game on some of these things, but I just find. I think we all find that the iPhone is a little more superior. But I don't bash anybody who has an Android phone.
Yeah.
I think if it makes you happy and,
At this point,
you enjoy it, then I'm glad for you.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, it's very Coke and Pepsi at this point. There's what you prefer, right, but fundamental feature parity is basically there for a lot of things, and I'm glad for it. You can send somebody on an Android device. I've done this. You can send somebody on an Android device a link, and they can join your FaceTime call on the web. If that's what you want to be using. The Translate app is pretty cool on the Android side. There's widgets which you can use. And there are things that Android does that iOS doesn't do. I really wish I could lay out my home screen pages however I wanted them. If I wanted a page that had one app, I want to be able to do that. If I had a page where I wanted an app in the middle of the page and a widget at the bottom and no other stuff, I could do that. And on iOS, that's simply not, and probably never going to happen. The two fundamental things that I don't like about Android are sort of philosophical and really big. And that is, there are so many flavors of Android because it looks a little different on every device, because everybody's allowed to wrap their own nonsense around it before they sell it to you. And also that the upgrade path is uncertain depending on the hardware that you have. So I have a Google
hardware
Pixel.
And carrier.
If at all, I have a Google Pixel that is going to get updates from Google for however long that happens. If I have a Samsung, if I bought that Samsung phone today, it's possible an Android update will come out a month from now that my phone will not get. The end. It's a complete crapshoot. It's gotten better, but it's still not. There's an Android update. It doesn't matter what phone you have an Android update. And that's the part that I find really frustrating. And because everybody's allowed to make weird sizes, one of the things they call out is different hardware form factors like foldables. And, maybe this is just a consequence of people with whom I have become associated. But I look at something like that and I just think if I had to develop for Android, I would tear my hair out trying to make sure that everything is going to work on every configuration of a screen. And that just sounds like it would just be too hard. And then it's not good for anybody. And so that's one of the nice things about iOS is that even though your selection is limited, if you want to use that app on an iPhone SE, it's going to look good. And if you want to use it on whatever Max, the iMax screen phone that you're carrying, David, it's going to look good on that screen too. And, and those are all the screens you have available to you. And even then it's kind of a lot. So it's nice to see that, it's nice to see that, but I also like that they're calling out. And this is one of those things that I always like when Apple does it, which is, we know we're not the only game in town and we're trying to compete and we're going to try and do it. Privacy first approach is still going to make me roll my eyes a little bit, but I'm glad they're doing this to make it easier to go back and forth. So if anybody wanted to, they can go try it out for a while. And if they decide they're done with the dark side, it's easy to come back. And
I know Android worldwide is number one as far as its platform goes. In the United States, I think iOS is pretty dominant. But it's that's what it is. I mean, having competition is huge. I mean, Apple can't be the only.
And
game
it's
in
also
town.
You can go out right now and find a $99 Android phone. And you can't do that for iOS.
$100, yeah. No, you can't unless you buy something new, of course. All right, and another story here, another topic I want to talk about here is subscriptions. Apple did update the subscriptions interface on iPhone. I didn't realize this, and this was actually an article that was written back up a little under a week ago, as we record this. What they did is they made a total change to the interface. I mean, the iPhone and the iPad. It's a much refreshed look. And really, what they've done is they've clearly distinguished the subscriptions that have active. I think it's so much cleaner. You can just go in and you look at each subscription, and it's clean to get to and be able to review this, and shows what's active and what's inactive.
It makes so much more sense this way.
It sure does. And you go to the page, and they've really done a great job. It really flat out tells you what you're subscribing to. Like in this case, I've got Audible I'm looking at, and it shows all the details of it, and you can go in and see the plans right from the subscription. You can cancel it right from there. So they've really done a great job. I mean, I'm a subscriber of the Apple One bundle, of course. I have the Premier plan, and then there it really distinguishes how to, if you want to downgrade, change your plans, you can do that. It makes it super easy. So I think this is something great that they've done, and it did take effect as on iOS 15.5, so you all should have that now. That hasn't changed, and then it is going to also include iOS 16. So you have to have a 15.5 and higher. So I'm hoping everybody's updated to 15.5.
This is another one of those things when we talk about why you should keep up to date on iOS updates. This is why.
Exactly, because this is important, because that's the biggest complaint a lot of people give is the fact that, oh my God, I forgot about the canceling the subscription, and now you have no excuse. You go right into this menu. It is right under their Apple ID, under settings, and you just tap subscriptions.
And there's a couple of things about this that I really like. I think you could do it before, but it wasn't quite as obvious. And that is when you look at your list, it shows you when it renews. Right there on the front, like on the front page, when you first look at all your subscriptions, it shows you the date that the renewal is. And if you look at that, like, I'm a subscriber to Carrot Weather, so there are other options besides the one that I have. And and when you go to look at it, it will show you see all plans. So if I decide maybe I am never going to downgrade Carrot. I'm always going to. If I'm going to do anything, I'm going to upgrade. So, because I adore Carrot Weather, I love all the Carrot apps. They make me very happy. And so I can look at it and I can see what it tells me for what the, yes, I'm definitely meat bag. It tells me all the plans that are available, what they are. And the other thing that I love about it is that it says on the screen where it shows you the slightly more information if you don't go change the plan. If you cancel now, you can still access your subscription until whatever the day is. So I like that they do that. And then at the bottom, there's sort of a hidden feature on the subscriptions at the very, very, very bottom. Not hidden is renewal receipts. So you can get an email when this happens so that at least you can keep track of that that it went down. But also at the very, very bottom, there's mobile plan benefits. And if your cell phone plan comes with free Disney Plus, or you're on T-Mobile and you get all kinds of free stuff. I don't even know anymore. If you go down there and tap on that, it will show you the stuff that is available to you. I'm not in T-Mobile, so I don't get anything free, but it will show you the things that are there. And a lot of people don't even know that that's down there. And so this is one of those things that I sort of like to dig out of the corners that don't get frequented very often and point out to folks. And that one's pretty awesome. So I do like that. Yeah.
So stay on top of your subscriptions. There's no excuse now. It is laid out much cleaner and nicer here for you. One last thing, a couple last things here. I wanted to talk about this tip. There was a lot of chatter this last week about how to be able to quickly disable Face ID and Touch ID for more so someone can't just pick up your phone, and not that they're going to be able to read your the face if you don't have your Face ID going, but law enforcement could say, "Hey, put this in front of your face. I want this unlocked." That kind of thing. So,
and they can compel
there is a tip that,
face or thumb, but if you restart it, they can't compel you to enter a passcode. So the trick always used to be, like, I've heard, if you were going to be a rabble rouser and it was possible you were going to come into contact with law enforcement, the trick was always reboot your phone, because you always have to enter your passcode the first time, and you can't be compelled to enter a code, but you can be compelled to give it your thumb or give it your face. So.
Or thumb in your face, right? So this article is in Apple Insider. It's talking about Face ID, but very similar to Touch ID too, as far as what you have to do. For disabling it through the power off screen, you basically hold down both the side button and either the volume button at the same time for 3 seconds. The power off slider should appear. You click cancel, then you'll receive a prompt to enter your passcode with a notice that Face ID is temporarily disabled. And I know a lot of people didn't know that you can do this. So now the device is locked, and the only way it can be opened is by the passcode temporarily. It'll get re-enabled once you put the code in. Same thing, you can do that if you do it through Emergency SOS. When you go into settings, you tap Emergency SOS. If for some reason it goes into that mode too, you can enable any of the call with hold and call with the 5 presses options. When you press it 5 times, it goes to SOS. So you can cancel that immediately, and then you'll see the same thing. You'll get a prompt for a passcode that gives you notice that the Face ID is temporarily disabled.
Okay.
So check out the show notes. So we got a link there in there about that as well. I thought that was great, a great tip to share for this week.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to actually talk about before we wrap things up is Macstock. Macstock is coming up in 3 weeks, and I'm assuming you're still going, and I can't wait to see you in person.
So excited!
It's been like forever, and that is going to be on July 23rd and 24th. I think I've got the dates right. I forgot to bring their website up, but
in that neighborhood,
it's in
time is a construct.
Around that neighborhood. It's in Woodstock, Illinois, which is just outside Chicago, nearby where I live. Kelly's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Chuck Joyner's going to also be speaking.
Yeah.
And we got a number of other guests. So yeah, go on the site right now as we record this. 22 days away. So that means it's 3 weeks till I get to see you. So a lot of great. This is Macstock 6. A lot of great speakers, including the ones I mentioned and many others.
And also me.
I believe there's still a few, and also you as well. And a lot of great topics, and I think this is a lot of fun. I can't wait to see everybody. There's definitely going to be following all the protocols with the COVID-19. Mike Potter, the organizer, has been very stringent on how this is going to go, and you can have social distancing. So it's not going to be a full capacity. Right. But we're going to still get all our friends and all the friends in the Apple community to come out and see the show.
It's the balance of being mindful that makes it possible for this to even happen. So even if everybody that wants to go doesn't get to go, the people who are able to go, the people who do choose to go, there's been a lot of stuff put in place so that it can be as safe as it can be, which is the reason that it makes it something that is worth doing. So there are a number of things I've had to pass on because
we feel comfortable.
There's just no way that's a situation I could be in, and it's been really disappointing. So it was really nice to see meetings. Taking it seriously. So it makes it possible. Yeah.
I've been at plenty of meetings recently for work, and I did not feel very comfortable at all when you have a large crowd of people. So we're definitely Mike is being very smart, keeping it very safe. It is in Crystal Lake, Illinois, which is just right outside Chicago. I said Woodstock, but it's really Crystal Lake. It's at the McHenry County Community College there, and same great venue it's been for the last 5 years. And definitely come check it out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be able to see all of us, and there definitely will be some ways to being able to buy a virtual that you'll be able to see all the sessions later for what we talk about. But we got a lot of good topics, and I know all the speakers that are there. It's a nice small list of great speakers, including ourselves. Jay Miller speaking as well, and Mike Schmitz is speaking. So we got a number of others. So come check it out. It's at MacstockConferenceandExpo.com. Like I said, there are a few passes left. As the last newsletter that Mike Potter just sent out. So please check it out. I can't wait to see you, and I can't wait to see you as listeners coming out, because I'm sure a few who are listening are going to be there as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun. We got to get our talks in order here. To haven't finished to go. So we got some. I know a few of us will have some work to go yet. So but we'll have it all ready for you. So you're also going to check out MacVoices.com. Chuck Joyner is interviewing all of the speakers. At least he's going to try to get to everybody. So you'll be able to see us. You'll be able to hear about what we're talking about. So I'm not going to tease. I won't tease it here. You're going to have to go over and watch each speaker's interview. Chuck did interview me already, so I should be out there soon. I think he said next week, in the first week of July, those will start getting published. So check that out as well. And with that, let's go and wrap things up for this week. And that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. Support the show. Buy me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee, where we would really appreciate it. You can also become a Patreon of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we are live streaming, which is every Thursday night, usually at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DaveG65, where you can watch past shows that we've streamed live, as well as all the recorded shows are posted on YouTube as well. You can visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard. It's where many of the topics that we discuss are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You also can subscribe to the show using your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Kelly Guimont, as always, absolute thrill to have you on the show. Where can everybody find you?
Generally, you can find me on Twitter as Verso. Apparently, all I do when I'm not at my day job or asleep is record podcasts because I'm here with you. And I Want My MCU TV is active right now because Ms. Marvel is a show that is airing on Disney Plus. And so we're over there talking about Marvel. Dawn Melton and I do a show called Greetings from the Uncanny Valley, and that is a show about Westworld, which just came back on Sunday for its 4th season. And so Dawn and I are doing 2 podcasts at the same time right now, and neither of us are sure how long we're going to last doing this.
I do 3, so you're not alone.
So we'll see. We'll see. We'll find out together, I guess. So you can find me over on the Incomparable Network. That's where both of those shows are. Greetings from the Uncanny Valley and I Want My MCU TV are both over there. Mike Rose and I do a show called The After Show, which is aftershowpodcast.com. We spun up a spin-off show, and we haven't been able to schedule to get back to the show Barry, which is an HBO show. Talking about HBO earlier. And we are working our way through the 3rd season, which has already aired, so you can go watch all of it and then listen to us speculate as the episodes come out. But we're trying to get the rest of those episodes finished up. We did like a little side. We really, really love that show, and specifically one of the characters on the show. So I wanted to call it the NoHo Hank Fan Podcast featuring Barry, but Mike wouldn't go for it. So it ended up being called Loud, Fast, and Keep Going, a Barry podcast. So you can listen to us nerd out about Barry over there and continue to say that we really want Anthony Kerrigan to come on the show and talk to us, because we're hoping if we say it enough times, like I am King of the North, that if you just say it enough, it'll be true. So we're trying. Gosh, I'm tired just listening to me talk about everything I'm up to, and I'm not even sure that's all of it. So
you got it. I think you got it covered. So
there you
Thanks again for being here, Kelly.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love coming by and
appreciate everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. That's for sure. And I thank you for listening. All of you are listening out there. We really appreciate it. Have a lot of fun doing the show, and we'll talk again soon.